State assessment data can help states and local education agencies, or LEAs, identify student needs and plan how they can meet these needs. So, it is important to understand how all students, including students with disabilities, participate in and perform on statewide assessments. These data can help identify challenges in assessment participation and performance, areas of student need, and gaps in participation or performance among different groups of students, including gaps between students with and without disabilities. Let's first talk about what information is included in the assessment data states submit annually in January to the U.S. Department of Education. States report assessment data for two subject areas: reading and language arts, and mathematics. For both subject areas, states report participation and performance data. With regard to participation, assessment data capture the number of students in each tested grade taking both the regular and alternate state assessments. Most students with disabilities participate in the regular assessment with or without allowable accommodations. Allowable accommodations are changes that support increased participation. However, these accommodations do not change the assessment construct or invalidate the score. Some students with disabilities may require an alternate means of participation in statewide assessments to demonstrate achievement. In these cases, an alternate assessment may be administered. Alternate assessments are based on alternate achievement standards. They are intended only for students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who are unable to participate in general state assessments even with accommodations. How do states decide which assessment a student with a disability should take? It is the responsibility of the Individualized Education Program, or IEP team, to decide how a student with a disability will participate in the statewide assessment and to document that decision in the student's IEP. Performance data reflect various proficiency levels of students, meaning how well they performed in the required academic areas. States determine and report separately which performance levels they consider proficient and not proficient. So, which grades are assessed? States report assessment data for grades 3 through 8 and high school for all students. Grades tested for high school and the types of high school assessments may vary by state. Some states administer high school assessments that determine mastery of particular course curriculum or proficiency on grade level competencies or standards. Some states administer national standardized tests like the ACT or the SAT. Let's transition and talk about the assessment data reporting period, which is the state's testing window. The testing window is when LEAs must administer state assessments. The state determines this window and the testing vendor, and the window usually occurs in mid to late spring. Testing windows may be different based on subject area, grades, assessment type, and the format of the assessment. Now that we've covered the reporting requirements, let's consider how states might use the assessment data. It's important for the states to ensure that the assessment data are of high quality because they use these data to report on their implementation of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. For example, in the State Performance Plan and Annual Performance Report, also known as the SPP-APR, states must use the assessment data to report on indicators related to participation rates and proficiency rates of students with disabilities on statewide assessments. Let's think about how states might use participation and performance trend data. For example, if a state experiences lower participation rates for students with disabilities, the state can use trend data to determine whether students are receiving the necessary accommodations to effectively participate in regular assessments. States and LEAs can use assessment data to determine patterns regarding performance of students with disabilities. Perhaps an LEA sees a systemic issue with low performance rates for students with disabilities on high school assessments measuring mastery of a particular course. This could indicate a need for changes to curriculum, student interventions, or professional development to better support students with disabilities. The key takeaway is that increasing awareness of assessment data is the first step in understanding how these data inform state and LEA decision-making in selecting training, interventions, and supports that will increase participation and performance of students with disabilities on statewide assessments. For more information on assessment data, visit the IDEA Data Center website at ideadata.org.